It's showtime. After a 2-month-long hiatus, I am back at the desk alongside Ethan Schmidt, and I don't think there's a better time for my return.
Where have you been all my life, man? Nah, I'm just kidding, but you know who's not messing around? Arizona State Athletics. Women's basketball is dancing into the Sweet 16. Sun Devil hockey is going to the postseason for the first time ever. What a time to be a Sun Devil. Now, our Chase Dryberg has more on the historic run of Sun Devil hockey.
5 years ago, it was just a dream. A club team with hardworking players and a dedicated coach. A coach who led them to an ACHA national championship, and not long after, received a $20 million donation to jumpstart the transition to NCAA Division I. A college hockey team in the scorching desert of Arizona. A unique landscape for a formidable program. For their first 2 full seasons at the NCAA level, they'd play whoever would agree to play them, and recruit from far and wide, going a combined 18, 40, and 8 in that time. A rocky first 2 seasons, yes, but like any startup, it had its growing pains. Head coach Greg Powers and his staff began to lay the foundation, and prided themselves on doing everything the right way. They began to sell recruits on their mantra of be the tradition, allowing them to be pioneers for what would be Arizona State hockey. Fast forward to this season. The Sun Devils displayed newfound optimism from day one, driven by a talented group of incoming freshmen. A season-opening win against Alaska set the bar. Close losses to Ohio State added to the optimism. Wins against Penn State, Harvard, Boston College, and Boston University prove they can contend with the powerhouses and are more than just some club team from the desert. However, they didn't stop there. Continuing to write history and receiving a bid to the NCAA tournament, the fastest team to achieve the milestone and the first independent to do so since 1992. ASU has had a storybook season. They've defied all odds and proven their naysayers wrong. Many will still doubt them as they travel east to Allentown to face off against Quinnipiac in their first taste of tournament action. But if what they've shown this year is any indication, the Sun Devils will use that as fuel to add to the fire they've started. Arizona State hockey has gone from a dream to a startup to now competing for a national championship. The tradition has been established and it's on full display. This weekend, Arizona State will look to prolong their season and book their ticket to the Frozen Four, hoping to put a bow on what has been a Cinderella story.
Thanks, Chase. We are witnessing history right now. The Sun Devils found out on Selection Sunday that they're in for the first time ever in program history. ASU is the number 3 seed in the Midwest Regional, which will be played in Allentown, Pennsylvania, as Chase mentioned. The Sun Devils will face off against the number 2 seeded Quinnipiac Bobcats. ASU enters the 2019 tournament having played 6 teams that earned a postseason bid, the most out of all of the 16 teams in the tournament. Sophomore forward Johnny Walker is the only player with at least 20 goals in the regular season playing on opening weekend. Saturday's game will be on ESPN3 at 7:30 Eastern Time.
April is coming. At least Charlie Turner Thorne hopes so as her team continues its run in the 2019 NCAA tournament. In the first 2 games, the Sun Devils were near flawless. They asserted their dominance in Coral Gables, forcing UCF and Miami to bend the knee. But the road doesn't get any easier. First, ASU has a trial by combat with Mississippi State, the number 1 seed in the Portland Regional. After that, they could face off with 2-seed Oregon, who beat them twice this year. For ASU to reach the next round, the women's basketball gods will have to work their magic. Will ASU climb toward women's basketball's Iron Throne, or will Charlie and the Sun Devils go flying out the moon door? We will know soon enough.
I love it, Carson. Well, let's dive into some analytics here. I'm joined with women's basketball reporter Adam Noel, who had the chance to see the Sun Devils upset over the Hurricanes in Miami. ASU is returning to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2015. So, Adam, what obstacles did the Sun Devils face in the first 2 rounds, and how were they able to hurdle them to move on?
Well, they did a great job against both teams they played. They started off the tournament with number 12 seed UCF, who was a really tough team on defense. It was going to be a defensive battle right from the start, and both teams knew it. UCF presented a 2-3 zone to ASU, and they did a really good job shooting the ball, ended up with a 15-point victory. And then Miami was a tough game. They knew it, 4 seed in the region, the host school. The crowd was definitely in favor of the Hurricanes, but ASU did a great job locking down on the Miami Bigs, who were the majority of the Hurricanes' offense, and that's pretty much what led them to victory. And it was a tight game. They ended up winning 57-55, but they pulled it out, and they're moving on.
Huge victory for the Sun Devils, and they were able to figure it out against Miami, but they have struggled time and time again this season against those top-ranked opponents and closing out games to pull off big upsets. But now, what changed in that win on Sunday, Adam?
Well, the Sun Devils were able to get off to a hot start and to finish in the same exact way. They got out to a nice lead, 18-11 over Miami, and I don't think anyone in the crowd or any of us expected it. ASU got off shooting extremely well from the field, limiting a lot of the offense from the Hurricanes, and they did the exact same thing in the fourth quarter, and that's really proved to be the difference maker as they were able to hold Beatrice Montpremier to only 6 points, which is ridiculous, even though she recorded 22 rebounds, her season high. They were able to limit her to single-digit scoring, and that really proved as the difference maker. And that final possession, they had the ball, Miami with a chance to win the game. It rimmed out, and ASU advanced to the Sweet 16.
Well, it doesn't get any easier, as Carson mentioned. And now the Sun Devils have to match up with the Goliath, top-seeded Mississippi State. What's going to be the deciding factor for the Sun Devils to pull off a historic upset?
Well, I think it's pretty plain and simple. I think it's them needing to get the ball into the basket, and putting up a lot of points is going to be key. The Sun Devils have relied time and time this season against top-ranked foes, limiting their offense. But against Mississippi State, who puts up 80-plus points on the season, that's a really tough task. And ASU's scored over 60 in both of their games, but that's going to be really tough, especially when you're playing against a team that scores way more than that total.
Definitely. Well, we're going to have to see how it all shakes up for the Lady Sun Devils. You're killing it, man. And as always, great to have you on. And everyone watching can check out Adam's work and the rest of our ASU women's basketball coverage at devilsindetail.com.
While the women's team is staying alive, men's hoops season came to a close against Buffalo in the first round of the NCAA tournament. In that game, a lot of this year's inconsistencies showed through. The Sun Devils finished the year 23-11.
Our Devils in Detail Athlete of the Week is ASU softball's Maddie Hackbarth. The junior from Oakdale, California, put on quite the clinic this past weekend. Hackbarth jacked 5 homers and piled up 9 RBIs against conference rival Utah. She also threw out 2 runners on the base path on defense. But the bat is just absolutely on fire for this woman. Her .556 batting average over the last week earned Hackbarth Pac-12 Player of the Week and USA Softball Collegiate Player of the Week. Way to ball out, Maddie.
Building off of that, I am now joined by ASU softball reporter Nick Zeller-Singh to talk about the latest in ASU softball. And the Sun Devils are coming off the sweep of Utah, improving the Sun Devils to 25-8 on the season. And what have been some of the ways that the Sun Devils have found success in conference play so far?
It's been the offense. So far, the whole lineup, there hasn't really been any weakness when you go 1 through 9. And it proves on the stat line as well. They're 5th in the country when it comes to batting average at .355, as well as leading home runs now in the country, just bumped over Arizona due to Maddie Hackbarth's 5 home runs. And they are also leading the country with runs per game at just above 9 runs.
While it has been an excellent start to the year, what are some areas for improvement as they continue the season?
Well, there's 2 things that they're going to have to work on for the rest of the Pac-12 play, as well as trying to get into the regional, super regional, and the World Series. And first of all, it's going to have to be the pitching. And that's just been a project so far this year. You're looking at Cielo Mesa, who's been a little iffy and hasn't quite lived up to expectations, as well as Michaela Santa Cruz, who's been a project as a freshman. Abby Anderson has been decent as well, but she's been a bit inconsistent, and they've been relying on Samantha Mejia a bit too much so far. The second thing that has been big is they've been struggling to play that third game or that first game. They've been struggling to complete a whole series. When you see it with Oregon State, they struggled on Friday. They couldn't get the offense going, and they struggled on Sunday against Utah and luckily broke away with an 18-17 win.
This weekend has been marked on the calendars for a long time, the Territorial Cup. How will the Sun Devils fare off against the Wildcats?
Well, I think they could probably steal the first game, but it's sad to say they don't have a lot of road experience this year. They've had a lot of tournaments here at Tempe and a lot of home games so far, as well as the pitching, like I just stated. So it's going to be an offensive performance, as Arizona's number 2 in the country with home runs. So it's just going to be a lot of hitting, a lot of offense, and I have Arizona probably taking 2 at home.
I guess we will have to wait and see if ASU can get another point in the Territorial Cup Series down in Tucson. Awesome stuff, Nick.
Well, the incredible streak is over. Sun Devil baseball started the season with an astonishing record of 21-0 until Oregon was able to come away with a 5-4 victory in extra innings. However, ASU won the series and is still sitting pretty at 22-1. Junior outfielder Hunter Bishop is on a tear, leading the nation with 14 home runs. The Sun Devils are ranked 9th in the country as the Pac-12 schedule starts to heat up. It's a big weekend ahead as the Territorial Cup Series commences when the Arizona Wildcats come to town on Friday for a 3-game series.
The NFL ended almost 2 months ago, but it's always football season. Several former ASU standouts are making their marks in the debut season of the Alliance of American Football, or AAF. The likes of Will Sutton, Rashad Ross, and Carl Bradford are featured on the Valley's team, the Arizona Hotshots. But perhaps the most notable Devil in the league is Mike Bercovici. He plays for the San Diego Fleet and made his return to Sun Devil Stadium this past weekend, throwing for more than 300 yards and a touchdown. But ultimately, the Hotshots cruised to a 32-15 win at their home field.
Man, I wish I was throwing footballs in San Diego right about now. Well, Carson, that's going to do it for us today. We're glad you're able to stop by and catch up on all things Arizona State.
That's how we do it. As always, follow Devils_Detail on Twitter for the latest updates and check out devilsindetail.com for in-depth coverage. Thanks for watching.